course, today's guest, he not only made rock history, he is rock history. Incredible man, father, hunting enthusiast, but more than all, just a rock icon that revolutionized guitar playing, singer, songwriter, writer, speaker, constitutional activist, and much, much more. None other than the man himself, Ted Nugent. How you doing, Ted?
Brant, I'm doing so good at stupid in spite of the crazy world we're surrounded by. But you forgot to mention that I'm the funniest Motown guitar player in the history of sonic bombast. That's my real call to fame.
Well, you and I also share a love for James Brown. You said in one of your interviews that your dream band lead singer is James Brown, as is mine and my father's. Hey, man, you were inspired by Chuck Berry. You were inspired by James Brown, and you put all of that some way, somehow into rock and roll. And man, I love it.
Well, you know, raised in Detroit, the Motown influence and that black soulfulness, that authority that these black artists not only cultivated and developed, nurtured and delivered, but they owned it. I mean, all the best music in the world comes from gospel and blues and rhythm blues, and certainly being in the shadow of Motown, literally and figuratively, all of us bands competed to see who could be the tightest, who could practice the most and get the most cohesive rhythm and groove and grind with a little bit more of Little Richard than the rest of them.
Yeah.
So it's always been an uppity, outrageous, shall I say, middle finger on fire soundtrack of defiance. And I can't go further without mentioning the work ethic of my band.
Let's hear about that.
We just recorded a new record, Brant, called Ted Nugent Detroit Muscle, that Greg Smith on bass guitar is like a funk brother. He could play in the James Brown band. And Jason Hartless, 23 years old, is just an absolute grinding animal of rhythm and blues. So I'm always surrounded by the best musicians in the world, and real music lovers have always celebrated that with me because I love my music more than anybody, and we want to deliver it with as much fire, spirit, that musical authority that James Brown personified.
I'll tell you what, we've never have another James Brown again. Just so innovative. And of course, same thing with Michael Jackson too. What an incredible artist we lost there, as well as Prince. But Ted, I mean, without any flattery, you are a living legend, man, and you're still making history. You're not slowing down anytime soon. You're one of the few rock stars that didn't lose yourself in drugs and alcohol, man. You love your wife and your family, and you love America. And we have a sample of that great new album that I can't wait to buy. Let's hear that right now.
Come and take it. 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 Come and take it.
I already know it's fantastic. And you know what? Not only have you sold over 40 million albums, you were named Detroit's Guitar Player of All Time by readers of M Live. How did you feel about that?
Well, it's so subjective. The best of this, the best of that, especially when it comes to music. There are so many incredibly gifted musical monsters out there. I've got to jam with all of them, from Jimi Hendrix to Billy Gibbons to Eddie Van Halen to Brian May to B.B. King. I played
to Meatloaf.
Brant. I played bass guitar for Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley. That's why I'm like this.
No way. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, so I have always pursued with much vim and vigor a musical adventure. And of course, those black artists that invented the soulfulness of all the best music.
Oh, yeah.
We were so addicted to the, I would use the word nuances, even though when you think of James Brown, there's nothing very nuanced about that in the presentation. But in the soulfulness, in the tightness of the bass and the drums, the performance of the guitar as an extension of that rhythm and groove. When they voted me #1 guitar player, I mean, it's humbling and it's an honor beyond words, though I'm doing a pretty good job of explaining it. I put my heart and soul into every piece of music I ever, whether it's a jam session or a recording or a live concert. And most importantly, if my guitar playing has impacted people with such power because of the musicians at my side. If you look back to the Royal Highboys in 1958 and then the Lourdes in 1959 with Pete Prim and John Drake and John Finley and Tom Noel, I still keep in touch with those guys that are still living, some of them are. But all through the Amboy Dukes and into the Ted Nugent band, my guitar hits you right between the eyes because it's delivered with an incredible authority rhythm section. And that's a blessing, a gift that God gave me, and I celebrate it every day.
Well, you know what? You're bigger than life. Your passion is off the charts still. Unlimited energy. I'll never forget hearing Wango Tango and Cat Scratch Fever in my brother's bedroom. He had that big poster on his wall of you in white suspenders and that wild hair, and also the Scream Dream album cover where you're wearing like a Tarzan guitar god on fire. My brother Brian, oh my God, oh there you go.
That's my girl right there.
Oh man, she's beautiful. Well, you know, my brother was inspired to play rock and roll from you and others. And you know, what would you say to brother Brian, who has always admired you and who you are as a person and as a patriot? How would you encourage people like him to still keep playing guitar?
You know, I do this every day with the modern insanity of technology on Facebook and Instagram and all these different social media maneuvers. I get that question all the time, and I got to tell you, I will be 73 years old in a few weeks, and that's 73 years clean and sober. I have never, ever poisoned my sacred temple, and I've always been a hunter. These things are side by side why I still have such energy and attitude. I have a bit of an attitude, Brant. I don't know if you noticed that. The reason I carpe diem like a madman is because by being clean and sober and being a bow hunter, I hunt with the bow and arrow, and you have to pursue such a level of samurai oneness, yes, not just with the mystical flight of the arrow, but with God's miraculous creation that produces this annual protein Thanksgiving for the Nugent family and tens of millions of hunting families across the nation. Wow. That higher level of situational awareness that comes from being clean and sober, my radar works really good. And the pursuit of archery, which is very spiritual, you have to thank God every time you draw the bow. In fact, I'll show you, because I'm never far from my guitars, my guns, or my bows and arrows. When I prepare to execute a shot in the world of archery, especially when you're hunting, right? This is a modern bow, but it's still archery. You literally have to disappear from any negativity. So when I grab my bow, there's no Nancy Pelosi. When I draw my bow, there's no Joe Biden.
Wow.
When I come ready to release my arrow, it's literally the path of my life. Do not underestimate how physics of spirituality my hunting lifestyle is, which inspired me to be clean and sober. But being clean and sober, the communication with my musicians, when I played with B.B. King, I wasn't distant, I wasn't comfortably numb, which is actually uncomfortably dumb. I was so tuned in to what B.B. King delivered that I cataloged it. I literally put it in my musical arsenal. Same with Brian May and Billy Gibbons and all these great guitar players that I've been able to collaborate and jam with. You know, Tommy Shaw, one of the greatest virtuosos in the world. You don't want to be distant. You want to be respectfully connected. So when I maintain my archery focus, it also accents my musical focus. So that 73 years clean and sober is the basis. And I got to tell you, I'm an old man, but I got 3 dogs here in the Man Cave Cuckoo's Nest, and I completely wore them out today. So when you eat proper food, you take good care of yourself. And of course, proper food starts with venison. I mean, people are now going, ooh, field to table organic. Well, welcome to the party, you dirt bags. These are the same clowns that would attack me for murdering Bambi.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no kidding. Hey, well, hey, you know, Ted, there's a legend about you that I heard this as a young man, and I don't know if it's true or not, that you shot a flaming arrow from your guitar bow and hit a stuffed deer, and that got you banned from Chicago or something. Is there any truth to any of that?
You know, Brant, I've somehow incorporated all my most flame-throwing passions in life. So I've been shooting bows and arrows on stage since around 1964, 1965, because what accentuates a really sexy rock and roll rhythm and blues song more than a flaming arrow into a burning skull?
Did that happen? Did it happen? Did it happen?
Oh, I've shot my flaming arrows on stage forever, and I have been arrested for it. But, you know, I improvise, adapt, and overcome. Nothing is more exciting than my guitar licks, except the flaming arrow goes along with them.
Well, you know what? You're passionate about your music. You're passionate about your life, about hunting, being a great husband, man, and your family. You're passionate about our patriots. You know, I mean, my gosh, what you've done for our men and women, our veterans with your USO tours, and I just can't wait to see what's on the horizon. As far as special events, besides this incredible new album, what else is going on with Ted Nugent?
You know, you see behind me all these patches and challenge coins from the heroes of the military and law enforcement. You know, quality of life, the American dream quality of life, which is the ultimate quality of life anywhere in the history of mankind, freedom is not free. Right. And my wife, Shemaine, and I, and my sons and daughters, my grandkids, my brother, my sister, we are involved with many, many military charities and law enforcement charities, because during this insipid, vile, toxic culture war that has turned into a spiritual war, where the Democrat Party is just pure evil. I mean, they're literally the Democrat Party and the Republicans that violate their constitutional oath are literally, and it's wide open for the world to see, the United States government is orchestrating the invasion of America. Yeah. Well, if that's not treason, what would be treason if not the government orchestrating the invasion of their own country? So I work with these law enforcement heroes that took that sacred oath. These military heroes, we just sent some coins and patches to a young man who's going into Navy SEAL boot camp. Brant, we do it every day. These heroes, these sheepdogs that put their lives on the line every day for us, they reach out to me on an hourly basis. I communicate. We have campfires every weekend where we have heroes of the military, their families, especially those families who have sacrificed a son or a daughter, or a husband or a wife. It's very emotional. So my exuberance for the American dream, rock and roll, be the best that you can be, is actually inspired more and more by those who provide the freedom that is the path to the American dream. So there's no way that Americans can do too much when we have homeless veterans in America. What a scourge! What a curse!
You're doing some great work with the Exodus House on a mission to see zero veteran homelessness in Michigan. Tell us about that. Literally,
Brent, all 50 states. But we do have Exodus House in Michigan, the Victory House in Allentown, Pennsylvania. And we got families across America that really know that freedom is not free, and they care and they dig deep. And we're gonna eliminate probably the most embarrassing curse in America, other than the treason that runs amok by the alphabet soup bureaucracies of our country. I think that we will not really be a proud America till we eliminate the embarrassment of homeless veterans and the heartbreaking suicide rate when they watch their commander-in-chief violate the oath that they sacrificed their legs for. Brant, they drag their dead brothers off the battlefield so that the commander-in-chief can violate their constitutional oath. This is a horrible time in America. And I know I just went from the most uppity celebration of a great hunting season and life, liberty, pursuit of happiness with my family, but you only get life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness if you fight the evil that gets in the way of that pursuit. So that's what I balance my life in doing.
Absolutely correct. And you know, Ted, a lot of people forget that the constitutionalists, they were outlaws. You know, people say, hey, I want to do something, but what can I do? within the law. Sometimes there's things, when there's unjust laws, I've heard it said that it's your duty to disobey. I just found out the other day that some school systems in these communist ran areas are getting over $3,000 per child for wearing a mask in that school system. Did you know that? So we're seeing more and more from people who have always propagated slavery and racial division and the KKK. What do you have to say to today's patriot that says, hey, we got to do something? What can we do? Where's the place to start, Ted?
I'd like to just make it perfectly clear that our founding fathers wanted every American to be just like me, to question all authority, to demand constitutional accountability from our elected employees. They're not elected officials. We're the electing officials. They're the elected employees. And across the board, across America, there's an organization we began in 2016, and we got the right guy elected. It's called Hunter Nation. Go to hunternation.org. It sounds like it's about hunting because we've galvanized the most conservative demographic in America, licensed hunting families who have been missing in action in the last few years. And we've kind of scolded them and woke them up, and they did arise to the occasion. But hunternation.org is putting boots on the ground, and we're not going to endorse a candidate, but we will make sure that the candidates we vote for stand for God, family, country, Constitution, Bill of Rights, the Ten Commandments, the Golden Rule, law and order, work ethic, the man in the arena being the best that they can be, because hunting families work hard and make sacrifices to be in the asset column for conservation, for environmental stewardship, and ultimately they can make the difference in the election. So I hope everybody goes to hunternation.org. It's strictly about getting rid of the horrible curse of apathy. Brant, how dare you in America not put forth your right and duty to vote when there's all those flag-draped coffins that provided you that right? You have to fulfill your job as an American, and that is to hold constitutional accountability to all your candidates, vote in the good ones, and vote out the punks that have turned on America. HunterNation.org. It sounds too simple to be true, but we showed proof in the past, and we're going to show proof in the future, I promise you.
Fantastic. You recently celebrated your 500th episode of Ted Nugent's Spirit of the Wild. Where can people see that?
I love to hunt and I love to kill game. It's the best food in the world, and shopping for a deer to put on the dinner plate is more fun than shopping for anything, especially with the bow and arrow. It's so challenging. And I was attacked so viciously, just hate dirtbags that would attack me for murdering innocent animals.
Oh, they're offended in everything, Ted.
I mean, they're just brain dead. I guess they're Timothy Leary followers. But anyhow, so I had a lot of rock and rollers because I've always promoted bow hunting and the mystical flight of the arrow and conservation and the healing powers of nature. And more people are waking up to this. So instead of just telling this guy how to get into bow hunting, just telling this guy how soothing and cleansing it is in the great outdoors, I started Sunrise Safaris, and I realized that I'm on the path to promote and celebrate hunting, fishing, trapping, the perfect conservation lifestyle. So when the new outdoor channels got on, the outdoor channel has been around for almost 30 years. We just celebrated our 500th episode, and because my wife Shemaine is so, shall we say, effervescent, that she attracts an awful lot of viewers, and she's proven with a lightweight bow that not only can you kill deer and elk and antelope and bear and big African game, but it is the best diet, the healthiest, most nutritious, natural diet in the world. So Ted Nugent's Spirit of the Wild, it's a song, it's an album, it's a TV show, it's a weekly podcast. It really is about the spirit of being connected to God's miraculous creation and utilizing his gifts, especially in the world of food, shelter, clothing, medicine, tools, weapons, but most importantly, the Spirit. Now more than ever during this weaponized Wuhan virus, now more than ever, people need the healing powers of nature. And I got to tell you, we've touched on some very painful points that are just ugly and toxic in America today.
Right.
But when I get to the swamp, when I get to the woods, especially when I take these young terminally ill kids and they're looking for something before they die, 5, 6, 7-year-old kids, Brant, I'm telling you, it's out of body. When you leave the pavement and you just, and remember, I am the Motor City Madman. I'm hyper. I'm on fire. I'm still alive. But Brant, you know me. When I leave the pavement and I walk that ridge, within minutes, the world is perfect. Right. And that's why these terminally ill kids and their families honor me beyond description. For me to take them on their last request in life, because even a little boy and girl knows somehow instinctively that Uncle Ted's having so much fun on Spirit of the Wild TV, shooting his bow and killing a squirrel and eating a woodchuck and getting a duck with the dogs. They can see that there's something powerful that happens in the outdoors. And so more and more people, we had more hunting and fishing licenses last year than in over 50 years because people instinctively know that God's miraculous natural creation, it will cleanse the soul. And people need cleansing the soul now more than ever.
In 2020, you started your Spirit Campfire podcast. I can't wait to subscribe to that. We listen to podcasts when we travel. Your wife, Shemaine, man, she's doing great things for everybody, but also women too, and encouraging them in their health. We definitely want to hear anything she's got and give her all the platform she needs on our end. And I tell you what, Ted, I'm just so honored that you would join us today. Everything that you're doing for our country, you're doing for our vets, and you're also inspiring musicians, to keep going, and to utilize their gifts and celebrate the freedoms that we have. I tell you what else would you say? What else would you say to this younger generation that's starting to realize things aren't quite right and this isn't exactly what we signed up for? How would you encourage them to be better patriots in this hour?
Well, number one, Brant, you deserve me because you represent truth, logic, and common sense, goodwill, decency, work ethic, being an asset to yourself, your family, your community, our great country, your fellow man, and the earth. People from all around the world come to my Spirit Campfire, which I broadcast on my YouTube and Facebook, and millions of people, maybe they were inspired just by the intensity of the rock and roll. How could you not be? But they realize that the intensity of my rock and roll is a result of me being clean and sober, caring, helping the military and law enforcement and special needs children. And they see that the Motor City Madman has a really diverse lifestyle. But as you identify the incredible angelic work of my wife, Shemaine, she's literally like Mother Teresa with a bow and arrow. She is so positive and wonderful. And my sons and daughters, my grandkids, my brother Jeff, my sister Kathy, my band, my crew, my management, you've worked with Linda, everybody in my life is so positive. Everybody in my life gets up early and they carpe diem. They have another gift of a day from God. And we're going to use it to the best of our ability. And that includes making killer music. My buddy, the welder, he's the most famous welder in the whole Midwest because his welds last forever because he puts his heart and soul into every weld. So whether you're a carpenter or an electrician or a mechanic or a high-tech guy or you run the local Ace Hardware or you're at the feed mill, everybody I know is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and, dare I say, cocked to rock the Glock around the clock, Dr. Spock. They're engaged, and they're in the asset column just by putting their heart and soul into everything that they do. And this passion for every day, it's very contagious, and a lot of rock and rollers from around the world have gotten clean and sober after communicating with me. They see that you're not going to be able to keep up with Uncle Ted unless you're clean and sober. Maybe they've changed their diet. There's a lot of fatzos out there. There's a lot of people that don't care what Mr. Hand is putting in Mr. Mouth. I've really woke some people up, and it might be harsh because truth, logic, and common sense in a world of touchy-feely. It is harsh until you realize that it's best. It's the best thing. Smart diet will make you healthier. If you care about your health, you might not have to wimp and whine for health care. Brant, God bless you for the truth, logic, and common sense, which is ubiquitous across this land. God bless America, especially the best of America, the Republic of Texas. I am a Texan, and I couldn't be more proud.
Well, we're proud of you, Ted. And we'll see you next time, folks.
Thanks, Brant. Live it up, man. Godspeed.
Okay, Ted, please play us something, brother. Come on.
I'll do it.
All right. Woo!